Amanda Gregg here, just coming at you live for my very first video for my Mindfulness Mondays. It's going to start being an episode that I'll be here with you every Monday at 3:30 Mountain Standard Time. So just wanted to wait a few moments. It's snowing here in Colorado and just enjoying that weather as I'm getting ready for this live video. So just want to wait a few minutes, see if there's anybody else that joins us. We'll get started in just a moment. Shoot me any hearts or likes if you're watching this now or watching this later. Would love to hear from you. So I'll get started. As I said, this is the very first episode of the Mindfulness Monday, coming at you each Monday just to share something that you can use right here and right now in your life as you move forward. Something that you can also just bring awareness into your life, which is everything that I'm very interested in. So just want to bring that to you. What I do, I have a company called Soaring Eagle Healing, and through that company I help passionate people that are always serving others, doing something. Hi there, thanks for joining us. Always serving somebody, and I help them actually get comfortable in their body so that they can let go of stress, blast through procrastination, and have even more energy that they've had before as they continue to serve others, may that be their family or through their business or whatever it may be. So thanks for joining us. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about teaching you 3 things on how to release overwhelm. So I've seen this in my life come up, especially now as the new year starts to begin, and you're starting to look at the different goals that you have and starting to say, okay, what am I wanting to do and move forward on? And now all of a sudden we're getting towards the end of January, and there might be this sense of overwhelm that has come. So for me, that's kind of something that's started to happen for me. So just wondering if you've ever had that kind of feeling where you're like, oh my goodness, there's so much to do. My goals are looking me straight in the eye, and I just want to hide under the covers. So let me know if that's happening for you in the comments. But yeah, something that's happening for me. So just wanted to share 3 things that will get you out of overwhelm quickly, and 3 things that you can use, especially with this mind-body connection, and something that I use with my work that I do. So the first one is identifying the overwhelm. And we're going to talk each step up here. We're going to talk a little bit about what happens that's maybe a myth, or maybe something that I kind of see in the work that I do as people are going through this, where they're saying the biggest mistake that I see is people call it and they say, oh, I'm stressed, or oh, I am anxious. And so that's kind of the biggest myth. So just looking at that for yourself, and as you begin to identify this overwhelm, that you actually take a step back and start thinking about it and actually naming it. So naming it in detail, of saying, I am overwhelmed because this is what's happening. So for me, I'll give an example. So doing my very first Facebook Live and knowing there's a lot of things that I want to do to get my company going, this has been something that's really huge. Hi there. Really huge for me in thinking about. So as I say, oh, I am overwhelmed, I am stressed, but I am overwhelmed because there's so many episodes and so much really neat things I want to get out there. And I can start to really begin to identify that overwhelm. So I'd really encourage you, as the number 1 step, to take a moment and really dig deeper than just stress or just anxiety. So that's number 1. The second one, and the work that I do that I feel like is so important, that there's a lot of mindfulness out there, right? It's a very big buzzword right now, a lot of people using it, but I really believe that there's a second part of that, of actually getting into our body and beginning to really start to use our body as the opportunity to take a moment and ground in that. So the number 2 step, hey everyone, thanks for joining. The number 2 step is actually getting in there and feeling it in our body. So the biggest mistake that I've seen is that we start feeling it in our body and we actually begin to shut down. We start to maybe go to the TV and watch something so that we don't have to think about it anymore or feel it. Or we go to food, different comfort foods that we have. Totally fine, but being aware of that and saying, okay, this is me sort of hiding from that. And so the number 2 step is really getting into our bodies so that we can take a moment and become aware of how it really feels. So instead of going to the TV or instead of going to that comfort food, that we just take a step back and actually just get centered in our bodies. So that might mean taking a few breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, just to take a minute and be able to just focus and bring that into it. So that's step number 3. Or step number 2, sorry. Step number 3 is letting the story go. So letting the story go and starting to move into the flow. And I'll explain that a little bit. So the myth and some of the mistakes that I've seen, and I too go through this as well, is that sometimes we as humans are addicted to drama. So I'm just going to let that sink in. So we're addicted to drama. So when we hear of different dramas that are going on, it's just like that addiction of saying, oh yeah, and starting to create that story in our own mind about our overwhelm. I am overwhelmed because this is happening, and then starting just replay that and say, okay, this is why I can't move forward, because I'm overwhelmed, because I'm anxious, and I can't move forward. And so it becomes our story, and it becomes something that we're just like, okay, this is why. And so I want to give an example for me, what has happened as I've moved through this story of, for myself, of Facebook as a whole, which some of you know my story about that. I left Facebook 4 years ago and came back to it with my business, knowing that it's a beautiful opportunity to get in front of people and be able to share messages that I am so passionate about sharing. And so my story was, I hate Facebook. It's just a drain on time, and I can't do it because I'm not good at it. And so as I've been working with my coach, and she's been saying, hey, get out there and do Facebook Lives. It's an awesome opportunity to look at how you can improve how you talk about what you do and how you share your messages with people that in that moment may just have needed that message for the day. And you can start to do that. So as I've started to do that, I've actually let go of that story of, I hate Facebook, I'm not going to do it. And now I'm saying, okay, here's my first Facebook Live. May not be perfect in the moment, but I'm really excited to share these messages and this information so that people can keep moving through their journey. And so as we do that in step number 3, beginning to step into our own flow. So everybody's flow is so very different as you begin to get out of that state of overwhelm and be able to just take that step back and say, okay, here is my own flow, and here's how I'm going to move through this overwhelm. Because I don't know about you, but for me, it's actually been these times where there's some overwhelm, and then there's some times of relaxation, and then there's overwhelm. So it's a continuous thing. It's not like this overwhelm is going to end completely. And these steps are to help us each time that we feel that start growing, because we can have an awareness about what we start to do when we see that happen. May it be that we turn more often to the TV, or we turn more often to our food of choice, or whatever it may be. We can start to really be aware of how we do that. So that just brings you into that mind-body connection so that you can start making that connection. So just a few things on that. So when we do start to identify those 3 steps and then begin to say, okay, I get it. Now, what do I do as I move forward through this overwhelm? Is that we actually get this opportunity to change our mind. we get an opportunity to say, here's what's happening in my body with that. And here's how I can change my mind and change my story. Like I was talking about mine, maybe you can think of one for yourself. And then we get to choose. We get to choose how we move forward with that new information, with that new awareness that we have for ourselves as we move forward. And then we get moving now. That may mean that, I teach dancing mindfulness, so maybe it means that you start moving with that and just begin to move your body, and you're like, okay, that's helping me to move forward. Or maybe it's something that you need to do for yourself to get moving now. So if you've said, hey, I'm going to start visiting the rec center more often, get moving now and go do it in this next hour after this video. I don't know. It could be whatever feels good for you. And then the last thing, and I think this is key. So underscore this, underline it. If you're writing things down, that's awesome. But consistency is key. So I talk about this a lot in the programs that I'm doing with people, in that the consistency of how we show up, how we consistently look at the awareness, how we consistently use these 3 steps that I'm talking about today makes a huge difference in how we can continually move forward and keep on feeling the different emotions. Because the thing is that as you become aware of what's happening, it's not that anything is wrong with us, right? As humans, we have these awesome abilities to feel, to have these emotions, to have these thoughts, to have these ideas, to have these dreams. And as we get consistent in our awareness of how we are processing that and moving through our journey, then we get to start being consistent in how we take action, how we comfort ourselves as we're going through that process, because it's okay to have all of these different feelings and all of these different thoughts that do become overwhelmed. So that is okay in our journey. So the last thing that I just want to say as I close out my very first episode, thanks so much for watching the whole time. I love you guys, and thanks for watching afterwards. I really, really appreciate it. I do a monthly newsletter also that's called Mindfulness Monday, and in that newsletter, if you've ever gotten down to the bottom of my blog, one thing that I say is that remember, you are the wisest voice in the room, so listen. And it is so true. We all have this beautiful ability of intuition, of being able to become that awareness that we want to see, and then be able to shed our beautiful light to other people so that they can too move through that space. So thanks so much. The last thing that I want to say is that if you need help, releasing that overwhelm, just send me a message. I would love to chat with you and just get to know you a little bit better. So thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you next week at 3:30 Mountain Standard Time for another Facebook Live and another episode of Mindfulness Monday. So have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.